Don't make me laugh. Welcome to Access Rhode Island. My name is Kate Brewster, and I'm the Executive Director of the Economic Progress Institute and host of this week's program. There's been a lot of talk about moving our economy forward with the release of Governor Raimondo's budget this week. My guests this week are helping to spark the comeback, as the governor likes to say, particularly for Black business owners. First, I want to welcome Lisa Ranglin, who is the president of the Rhode Island Black Business Association. Welcome, Lisa, and thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Kate, for having me.
And Saikon, Bjehan, who is also on the board of the Black Business Association, is an attorney and the owner of her own law firm and small business, the Law Office of Saikon, Bjehan. Thank you both again for being here. It's great to have you. Lisa, let's start with just a brief commercial about the Rhode Island Black Business Association. What do you do? What's the focus? What are the benefits to members? Tell us all about it.
Sure, thanks. So the Rhode Island Black Business Association, we actually go by RIBBA. We're a member-driven organization, and we primarily focused on business development. The goal is really to advocate on behalf of our members, as well as the overall community at large, around business development, as well as economic development. Here in the state, we have a very robust economic, from a business perspective, but not all the businesses are doing well. So here for us, our focus is really ensuring that our members, our business owners, have access to loans from a capital perspective, as well as access to contracts. We provide tons of services such as training from a business development standpoint. If somebody wants to learn how to maybe do marketing from a promotional standpoint, maybe they want to learn how to do QuickBooks from an accounting standpoint. The organization is open to the public. We've been maybe about 4 years, almost 4 years actually. In April, we'll be actually celebrating our 4 years since we've been established. So we're really excited about the work that the association is doing as it relates to business development. And we know as we talk about business development, but we're also developing communities. So we see it not just as a business thing, right? And when we think about it holistically, business should be everyone's business, right? So when we talk about business development, job creation, we're really impacting families. And when we impact families, we also impact communities. And we know when communities are doing well, we certainly have an overall impact from a state economy perspective. So we see it as a win-win for all.
Terrific. And I know that you do a lot of networking as well. You have a lot of opportunities for folks to get together, share with one another. I get your emails. There's lots of chances to get to work together. So it looks like a great organization.
Yeah, we are about pulling resources together. So where there's opportunity for us to collaborate around business development, whether it's training, and even just tapping into other access or opportunity that's out there. We like to talk about leveraging what's already there. So we're not about just creating something. And somebody said, well, why didn't you partner with some other chamber out there? And one of the reasons why, and some people may know that we actually were the Black Chamber of Commerce at one point. And as a result of talking to our members, we realized that chambers are not working for our population and our members. So hence we actually changed the name and became the Rhode Island Black Business Association. But for us, it's really about collaboration and partner where it makes sense around focused on business development, opportunities for business to really grow and thrive. And we know that historically that Black business, other minority firms create more jobs, and small business create more jobs nationwide. Right. And we know that we can do it here in Rhode Island as well. But the key is to ensure that these companies are really given opportunity to participate in the larger state from a contract perspective, and also have access to to loans in terms of capital from a lending perspective. I mean, we know that's a significant issue around lending. We've experienced it with some of our members unable to get the capital they need. In some cases, just to make payroll. For that, the state here in Rhode Island really should create a microloan program.
Well, let's talk about more of that in a minute. You just mentioned a couple of the challenges that are facing your membership. Are there others that you hear from business owners all the time, problems that they have? There's capital. What are some of the other unique challenges that Black business owners might face?
Well, in some cases, we hear a lot where somebody will say, well, they're not able to compete, right? Mm-hmm. We know that's not true. We know that's really far from reality. But, the large firms will say, why should I hire a Black firm as a sub or what have you? Because we don't think they're at capacity or at scale. And we find that disturbing in a sense because, one, they're not talking to our members. Mm-hmm. They're not talking to these business owners because they're, in fact, at scale and they're ready to go. Mm-hmm. They're basically looking for access. And access because we know that if given the access and the opportunity, they can create jobs like any other firm across the nation, not just here in Rhode Island.
Yep, terrific. Well, we all know that Rhode Island has struggled with higher than average unemployment, and certainly the unemployment rates for Blacks and Latinos are much higher than whites. Absolutely. So it's even worse for those populations. Do you feel that the minority business community has been overlooked in terms of a strategy and an asset to help reduce unemployment in Rhode Island?
Absolutely. There's no question about that. We talk about this very high unemployment all the time, right? It's always we're talking about it. The last number that I saw is probably around the November or maybe the December number. It was about 6.5 or somewhere around there. And we're looking at it from that state perspective. But when you look at it holistically and look at the urban areas mm-hmm. such as Providence, Pawtucket, Central Falls, and so forth, that number goes anywhere from 23% to 40%. We're talking about people that are underemployed in some cases, but some people that are ready to go, but they just can't find employment. I find that it's quite disturbing in a sense where people are not tapping into this, what I consider the untapped business population, mm-hmm. right? They just look at some jobs, right? Some companies can create jobs, but not thinking about what Latino or Black companies can do. They also create real jobs that pay extremely well. But again, they really need to be given the access to, loans or contracts, city and state contracts. And as it stands today, they're getting very little or in some cases 0% in some cases. For us, it's, we believe that if these companies are given the opportunity, they can create jobs, needed jobs. And we know for a fact if those companies are getting those contracts, they will have a direct impact mm-hmm. in reducing the unemployment rate here in the state. And in our communities, it's really bad. If you think about a family, mom and dad are not working, that also has a domino effect, so it impacts the children. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about education, all of that factors in. So we see it as an asset from our community perspective, mm-hmm. and we're hoping that the broader community will see that as well.
I know when we looked at data, and there wasn't any that I recall about the Black community specifically, but some Latino data we looked at showed incredible growth, excuse me, I'm losing my voice, among that group from 3 to 2007 or somewhere around there, in terms of just creating their own jobs. And Absolutely. It really is, if you can't find a job in our economy, there's so many people who are ready to create their own if they're given the tools to do that.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that for a minute. We know that the governor's budget has a lot of economic development tools in the toolbox that have been proposed, one of them being $5 million for a small business assistance program to expand capital for some small and growing businesses. Is it difficult? You've mentioned several times that it's very difficult for minority firms to have access or get access to capital. Are you hopeful that this program will help turn that around?
Certainly.
Or is it not enough?
Again, I think it's a great start. I'm really optimistic the fact that the governor, I think we have the new leadership in the governor as well as with the city of Providence. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited to see these new leaders step up and really do what is right as it relates to creating that one Rhode Island that we can all be proud of, right? So $5 million, I mean, it's better than nothing. Right. I mean, in the past, we've seen very little of state dollars that go to minority firms. We looked at some data from the Commerce RI most recently, and probably we saw maybe about 17,000 that went to a black firm out of I think it was about $12 million. Wow. I mean, it's quite sad when you see those numbers in terms of what loans are going out, whether it's to Latino or blacks. But I'm certainly encouraged by that. I think hopefully one of the things that we'll be doing is to reaching out to the governor's office to really present solutions, what we believe. Again, one, I think the state needs a microloan program. And two, we need to create, there's a whole bunch of what I consider technical assistance that are out there, but I don't think they're really creating programs that really taps into the needs of black businesses or minority firms. We really need to create not just having these one-size-fit-all as we think about technical assistant, but really to think about it from a grassroots perspective. How do you go in and really assess what these company really needs, rather than saying we're just going to create something holistically because we think it's a one-size-fit-all. Right. We have seen that it does not work. So what we're doing is really going to reaching out to the governor and present a proposal. We're currently working on a similar proposal to the City of Providence about what we believe is really going to impact black and other minority firms as it relates to technical assistance, as well as what they need in order to really grow jobs and be innovators.
We've talked a little bit in the past about how over the past several years many of the policies that have been enacted in the name of economic development have not helped small or minority businesses. The corporate rate reduction is probably going to mostly benefit large multi-state corporations, and several other, of the tax breaks really have been targeted towards the big guys. So this sounds like a good step in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Saikon, you're a small business owner. Tell us, it seems knowing that RIBBA, or the Rhode Island Black Business Association, is on your side and they're advocating for you must be encouraging. How do you benefit from your membership?
I benefit in a number of ways. First of all, when I first joined RIBBA, I was actually a new business owner myself, and while I knew what I needed to do to practice law and provide a service, I didn't know anything about running a business. And so it was because of RIBBA and other small business development programs that helped to educate me about what I needed to know in order to efficiently run a business and also to create a business that would thrive. And it was through programs, workshops and various seminars and classes that provided a wealth of information, as well as training workshops. And in addition, RIBBA has been useful in helping me to form relationships through the different networking opportunities. Every year, RIBBA hosts a number of different networking events.
The gala, which I have yet to get to, but that's my goal one of these years.
Yeah, there is the gala, and there's a number of different networking events in Providence, and it's been great to establish relationships with other business owners and professionals in the community. And I find that RIBBA gives us a voice. In addition to being an advocate, it gives us a voice to even serve in different leadership roles, such as for instance, what I'm doing now as a young business owner. It provides opportunities that I feel I would never have, and so it's been it's been a blessing to be a part of this organization, and I definitely encourage other business owners and professionals to become involved as well. It's helped me grow personally, professionally, and my business, and it's definitely helped my business thrive.
Terrific. You both have touched on, Lisa, you did contracting and procurement, so I want to talk about that for just a minute and say that you've educated me, since 1986, there has been a law in the books directing the state to award a minimum of 10% of procurements and construction projects to minority businesses, but that the state has not made good on that promise, and in fact, there's very little enforcement or sanctions to get non-compliant employers to comply. So tell me, what can you tell us about that and what steps are being taken to improve that situation? Either of you. Whoever wants to handle this big issue.
I think this...
And what's been the impact on jobs and businesses in the minority community?
This issue is, again, the law has been on the books since 1986, and we've been talking about it for years. You know, other leaders out in the field has been talking about this lack of compliance, lack of political will in terms of stepping up, implementing robust programs and enforcement around companies that are receiving contract from the city and the state. And it's the right thing to do. But if you have a law on the books since 1986 and you can't find 1% of those contracts going to minority firms, there's no questions that we have an issue.
Is it less than 1% or almost non-existent?
It's probably about 1% or less in some cases. I know most recently in the city of Providence they reported a 2.5%, but that's a combination of women as well as minorities. So we're not sure of the split, but again, the last number before the previous mayor left, he reported in December around 2.5. But at a state level perspective, we're about 1%, and we're talking about millions of dollars that are spent each year, whether it's on city jobs, state jobs, but it has to change. If we're really going to drive the needed changes from a job creation perspective, I mean, I can speak to black firms from 1997. We're up probably about 146%. So we're about 3,200-ish black-owned firms that are here in Providence. Let's just look at Providence.
Wow.
And basically, if those companies are able to get jobs, contracts, they'll be able to create jobs.
Yep.
So it's really, really a win-win. But I really see this as a huge opportunity for both the state as well as the city to really implement what I consider robust enforcement program. I think it has to include education component as well as monitoring. And then sanctions. So if a company received this contract, whether it's one of the things that we would like to see from a RIBBA perspective is to ensure before a contract is awarded, that large firm has to show that here is my MBE up front. So that's a part of the criteria in terms of the award. So that's what we would love to see. We would see that factor in there. So if a bid comes up and it has no MBE, minority business enterprise, as part of that package, it should be rejected. That's what we are hopeful that will be implemented sooner than later. And we know if that is in place, it certainly will give these companies access, and certainly they'll create jobs. So we see it really from an overall perspective. It would be great not just for the minority, whether black or Latino or Asian business owners, but as a state,
right? From
big picture, just a state. I mean, you have a law since 1986 and you haven't done anything with it.
Right.
I really think having conversation with back then the candidate Raimondo and Mayor Lorenzo, I spoke with him recently, and they get it in terms of what needs to get done in terms of that sea change that we need. It has to be a change that is going to really drive significant improvement in what has not worked for years.
And in addition to the enforcement, and I think demonstrating what you're going to do or who you're going to bring to the table through contracting would be great up front. Are there technical assistance programs and outreach that the city or state should be doing to firms to help them be able to apply? I mean, I know it's not an easy application process and certification process. Is there more to be done there as well?
Certainly. I think there's an opportunity to streamline the application process. So again, we have the state have a minority business enterprise office that really administer that certification process. It needs to be streamlined. I would love to see where the application is made available electronically, online versus this huge stock of paper, right? They're asking for the same information on 3 different stocks. Why not consolidate and make it available electronically? But there also needs to be sort of like that going out, sort of taking it on the show. Why should a company become certified?
Right.
Because what we have seen, when we said you should get certified, you should become certified with the state, you'll get access to federal jobs and state jobs and so forth. And what we hear, really?
Right.
show us where these opportunities are, and then why we should do it, and then we'll do it.
And it's not just, what little I know about it, it's not just you have to be a road paver. It's cleaning services, it's food, it's everything that the state or city might purchase. And I think people might not recognize that that there are great opportunities there for companies of all sizes and all capacities.
Absolutely, and it varies. It's not just about construction. It could be also soft skills. So, for instance, if somebody owns a CPA firm, and they're going to provide bookkeeping, or maybe they own project management company. So there's all types of services. Most recently, the City of Providence reached out to me, do you know an MBE that can do some photographer work, creating a video for a training program. So it has the opportunity to be really, really huge.
Yep.
But again, what we've heard for many, many years is that, why should I go through the process? Why should I bother to go through the process? And what we're doing from an organization perspective is to really change people's mind around the value in the certification. We really see it as a plus, and we encourage our members to go through and get their certification through the state, and we're working very diligently. And it's more from a partnership perspective to ensure that we're working with city government and state government to really change and implement robust programs that we're really going to drive significant change across the board, not just for minority firms, right, but just companies in general. I always talk about, why are we fighting for 10%? We should want to just go for that entire pool. My thing is, let's go for 100%.
Yep.
But first, we need access.
Yep.
So we're here talking about 10% set aside. But my goal from an organization as the president of the association is really to ensure that our companies are gaining access to be able to compete at whatever level they can. If it's 70%, 50%, whatever, there shouldn't be a cap.
Right.
So it would be wonderful to get to that 10%. But from a long-term perspective, I see it where we really need access. Whatever the percentage is, if it's 100%, we'll take it. But again, we need to be at the table.
And this isn't even your day job. This is your volunteer work or your second job.
That's right.
So let me just ask you both. We've talked about this already in different ways, but the governor and the legislature certainly are focused on job growth and job creation and moving us forward. This question is for either of you. Do you believe policymakers in our state have really fully embraced the minority business community, or is there more they can be doing? I mean, clearly access to capital, the contracting and procurements. Are there other ways that we should really be rethinking? And looking at the demographics, we know that the Latino and the Black population in our workforce is where it's growing.
Absolutely.
And if we aren't fully embracing and finding ways to fully engage folks, we're all going to lose. Our little ocean state is going to sink.
Absolutely.
So what else could policymakers be doing? I don't know, Saikon, if you want to take this on or let.
Well, I mean, you definitely hit the nail on its head when you talked about the changing demographics. Over the next several years, there's going to be a major change in demographics as African Americans, Latinos, and other minority groups, the population of those groups increase in the state of Rhode Island. And so lawmakers essentially need to adjust their strategies to make sure that they're including all Rhode Islanders and all groups. There's been a study by the U.S. Census Bureau in 2007 that showed that African American-owned firms have increased by 61%, to which accounts for 1.9 million, million firms in the U.S. And those firms, in turn, mostly hire people within those communities. And so, that directly impacts the increase of jobs. And basically, those same companies are pouring into those communities in which they operate in,
right.
And that ultimately affects the economy statewide. And so, I would definitely say that it's directly impacting the economy on a greater scheme from state and city leaders trying to work with organizations such as RIBBA to help create more diversity.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a mindset change as well. So it's not just to look to the minority community when it's time for just to seek our votes, but it's also to think about us as an asset. And we certainly see us as an asset in the state. And I think one of the things that we're doing from an organization perspective is to educate these lawmakers about why, again, not just look at us from a voting perspective. Again, that's very important, and people, fought and died for that, for us, some of us, to be able to vote. But at the same time, we're an asset to the state. And it would be unwise of them to ignore us as we think about it from an economic development perspective. We certainly see the minority business, and the population in general as growing and as an asset to the state. So I would encourage all of them to partner with us. We have reached out and we've been having conversation, and those conversations certainly will continue. But again, the goal is to embrace diversity. At all levels, not just that it's good for certain things, but not for everything.
Right.
We see it as a win-win across the board. So we'll just continue those conversations, and we're hopeful that they'll be open, to embracing what we bring to the table in terms of the asset and all that we have to offer as it relates to our diverse background.
And certainly lifting up the income and wages of the minority communities, which in some cases are half or just over half of what whites are making. The more folks have in their pockets through jobs and good jobs, the more they're going to spend in our local economy. It's a win-win for everyone, as you say.
Absolutely.
It's just critical. So we have a few more minutes. First, tell me a little bit about how folks can get involved with RIBBA, with the Rhode Island Black Business Association. Who should they pick up the phone and call you? Where should they visit? What's the website, phone number, all that good stuff?
Take it. Sure. They can definitely get more information about RIBBA on our website. It's www.IBBA.com.
So www.ri-BBA.com. Excellent.
Yes.
And they can also email at info@ri-bba.com.
Correct.
If they want to talk to someone about the benefits, can they give somebody a call?
Yes, the phone number is 866-403-4560.
Excellent. You're both on the board. I saw that you have a terrific board of directors. Are they fully engaged? And what can folks do if they're interested in joining the board? Or
Yeah, so we have a variety of leadership roles. You can either serve on a board or on a committee. They can reach out and contact the organization. They can email to that info@ri-bba.com, or they can call us. We have tons of great opportunities, again, not just to be serving on the board, but also to lead various committees. And we have several committees, whether it's working on our events like the gala for later this year, or on our policy issues, right? Workforce development is one of them, as we look to partner where it makes sense.
Yep.
So there's a great deal of opportunities where we're actively recruiting right now. So the organization is open to the public. It's open to everyone. You don't have to necessarily be a business owner. If you're a professional and you have a product or service that you're looking to sell to someone, consider us a great place to start. We have, great professional business owner. The organization comprised of not just business owner, but professionals, all you can think of it. So if you are selling a product or a service,
Excellent.
you definitely want to partner and become a member. And just show up. Check out our website for all of our great activities, events, and so forth, and just check us out and see what we have to offer. We really have a lot to offer.
sign up for the e-news service. I know I get them weekly, I think.
Yeah.
And it's really a valuable resource to
Absolutely.
us as well.
Absolutely.
I also suspect we're in the middle of the legislative session. There's a lot of discussion about economic development.
Yes.
And I know, like our organization, I'm sure you need more than just you two up at the State House.
That's right.
Also advocating for things that the association is hoping to either pass or defeat.
Yes,
So,
we're actually in the business of we're looking to hire a lobbyist.
oh, excellent.
So if anyone out there is looking to consider a part-time gig, certainly
Excellent.
reach out to us. We're actively looking at different things at the State House. So yeah, this is a great opportunity for somebody to partner with us.
Terrific. Lisa Ranglin, president of the Rhode Island Black Business Association, Saikon Bjehan, who is an attorney and member of the board. We thank you both so much for being here. Wish you the best of luck with all that you're doing. It's terrific work.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.